Yo, yo, yo. What is up, spiritual hooligans? It's your pal, Matthew Ferry, and we are 6 weeks into our journey together. It's time for each of us to move from a little bit of ho-hum to hallelujah. Whoa, 8 steps to manifest your goals and your dreams. Now, the 8-step manifesting process is really just a system. That's it. It's a system for operating in life in a way that enables you to feel good, to be in the flow, to get what you want in your life. And what I've noticed for me, and I've been using it myself in my own life and teaching it to thousands of clients since probably maybe about 2003, somewhere in there is about when it started to really emerge as a system. But since then, I've seen that it really gives you the ability to operate harmoniously with yourself, with life, with all that you encounter. And, that's not easy because life is not really very harmonious. But when you are in harmony, you feel good. And when you feel good, that's an indicator that you're thinking thoughts that make you strong. And that's the crazy thing. When I first started to understand Dr. Hawkins' work in Power versus Force, and I began to play with this idea of strong and weak muscles, literally doing muscle testing. Back then I was trying to do his methodology, which was to measure levels of consciousness, and I would consider myself proficient in that. But the breakthrough really happened when I started to realize, wait a second, like what if I just did things that were strong? What would that do? What if I began to ask my clients to think things that are strong and to hold contextual frameworks that are strong? What would that do? And the answer is, it blows it out of the water, because when you feel good, essentially what you're expressing is strength. So you want to remember that the rapid enlightenment process is really just based on these enlightened perspectives, which are just thoughts and ideas that make the body go strong with muscle testing. And the 8 steps is a part of that process. It's something that we have diagnosed with the testing to discern and make sure that everything that we're doing here makes us go strong. Because when you're strong, you're in the flow. Everything works. When you're strong, your perspective is strengthening and optimizing and uplifting. And that's the thing. Perspective is key. The 8 steps help you to develop a perspective that all is well, that it's always going my way, even when it's not. So valuable. Hey, Kristen, can you find our, I just got it. It was Tristan that was making some noise. I just muted him up. There we go. So when you know that all is well, life is flowing and it's easy. Now, most people have trouble kind of staying in this open, allowing, and flowing state. And we might say it like this, like nobody has trouble manifesting. Like you don't have trouble manifesting what you want. Like when you're in alignment, things just happen. But getting into alignment that takes something, because we're in a survival state, but our life is a thriving objective. Now, it hasn't always been that way. You are standing on the shoulders of your ancestors, and they were in a survival state. So they were in a survival state and they were trying to survive. And very few people were living a life of as much luxury, opulence, privilege, where so much was handled like you are today. Very few people were. Most everybody was just trying to figure out how to stay alive and really try to live and have babies and keep the babies going and the whole thing. But not you, not me. Most people don't have troubles manifesting. Like what you want is coming. Most of us have troubles with our perspective and our point of view about life because it puts us in conflict. It creates opposing intentions. Will you just write this idea down for me, please? What I want is coming. Relax. What I want is coming. Relax. Relax, everybody. I remember when Deanna first started with us, And she was just so sure that she was never really going to be living her life that she wanted. She wanted it badly, but she was like, there was so much like angst and agitation. And it turned out she was actually already living a big chunk of the life that she had been wanting to live. And when she started to make peace with that and recognize it all as well, everything started to accelerate. It was so exciting to watch. So exciting. But here's the thing to know, everybody. Most of the time, we're blocking our intentions and our goals and our dreams with a habitual perspective. It's a way of viewing your life, right? Habitual perspectives. And our habitual perspectives, they modify our behavior and they actually create structures in our life. So the foundations of our habitual perspectives, if we just like track them back, like you came in a certain way, but then life kind of shapes you, right? It was formed by a child. When you were a child, you're just trying to figure out like, how do I get what I want in my family unit? And that stuff is really, really sticky. It like stays with you. Those thoughts, those ideas, those beliefs and principles, those modes of operating, they don't necessarily bring out the best self in you. They're more likely to bring out the survival self who's fearful and doubtful and frustrated and angry. And, anger is different for everybody. Like, when I get angry, it doesn't express itself like really loudly. It's just like a little, it's kind of like that, but it's still an indicator that I'm weak in that moment. Think about it like this. If you were a tree in the forest, your propensity to grow and flourish is built in. But your propensity to grow and flourish can be impeded, even stopped, by the conditions that are present in the forest. And it's the same thing for being a human being. Is that your environments and your condition can impede or even stop your dreams from coming true. But you have this thing, you're a more evolved, complex organism, and you have choice. And that's what we're expressing. We are literally changing the conditions. That's what the 8 steps is all about. High five for being a part of this thing. The 8 steps bring about your ability to manifest your thoughts and your ideas into reality. The ability to do so is an interesting way to say it. That's not like 100% the way you want to think about it. Like you don't have an ability to make things happen. You are things happening. But I want to review the 8 steps with you. I want to get us back up to speed and then want to drop into number 6. So number 1 is to essentially set your intention. Like what seed do you want to plant? Because whatever seeds you're planting, those things are coming about. But here's the deal. You can't plant corn and expect wheat. You can't plant doubt, fear, uncertainty, and then reap the rewards of power, profit, and peace of mind. So step 1 is to set your intentions and to focus on what you want, why you want it, to feel it, to experience it. So who is still a little unclear about the intentions that you want to set and maybe wants a little bit of coaching and support in clarifying this? Does anybody, jump in, James. Just unmute yourself and get in there, buddy.
Oh, I was just raising my hand and confessing. I didn't know I was going to have to actually speak. Sorry.
Well, we love having you speak.
I didn't know I was going to have to sit in the chair.
No chair to sit in. What I'm trying to do is just make sure that if anybody is not really clear about what their intentions are, or you've set intentions and now you're having second thoughts, I'm just offering to be a clarifying element. And so there's nothing for you to say, James, if you don't have anything.
I'll just keep it really short. Just lately, just lack of motivation. So,
More naps.
What?
More naps. More naps.
Then I'm just sleepy.
More walks.
Yeah.
Don't
Okay.
resist. Don't resist. When you have a lack of motivation, you have a lack of motivation. You don't resist it. If you resist it, it just makes it longer and it makes it worse. Instead, you embrace your lack of motivation and you just be at peace with it. And when you do that, it's crazy how fast it returns. Resistance literally makes everything worse. You could think about it like this. What you accept will transform. What you resist will persist. So if you accept your lack of motivation, then it'll transform. If you resist it, it'll just stay longer. So more naps, metaphorically speaking.
So less time spent trying to find a date because I'm lonely as hell and I'm a single dad, and just accept the fact that I am,
That's
and
right.
just let it come to me.
Well, there's two components to that. So if you are manifesting a female companion, then I would highly recommend you follow the 8 steps. So 1, you set your intention. 2, you keep doing what you're doing, but you start giving the gift to everybody. And then when people want to know what you're up to, you tell them, hey, I'm a single dad and I'm looking for a fantastic person to hang out with and play and do things with. And you just let the environment will serve up all kinds of people. And then you're going to have to do number 6, which we're going to talk about today. Woohoo. Let's keep going on our intentions. So step 1, you got to set the intention. Step 2 is really about trust. So when you know that what you want is coming, you kick back. You keep doing what you're doing. You give the gift instead. Now, the drunk monkey is going to convince you that it's not coming. And when it does, you panic. You get into frenetic action. You try to force the outcome. That seems to stop the manifesting process, or it makes it malfunction. And you know that that's happening because you feel negative. So will you just write down anybody that you would like to give the gift to this week? We just write down 1 or 2 names of people you're just going to reach out to and connect with. Find out what they're doing. See if there's a way in which you can make a difference for them. And then be ready for the miracles to start to come. And they're not going to come from that person per se. There's a universal reciprocity that occurs. Step 3, it's about trust. Trusting that what you want is coming. And it's not your job to figure it out. Remember the Thatch story? Forget about the how-to. Follow the ancient Vietnamese proverb, fuck how. That's not your job. Yeah, you might have some ideas, but your ideas are clearly not working because what you want is not manifesting. So you have to go into the world and discover and discern. You have to figure out through conversation and investigation and being open. And that's what the gift does. It helps you to connect to the world and receive the information. And when you get that information, boom, it creates this energy that we call inspired action. So let me ask you a question. I want you to write down, where would you like to be experiencing more inspired action? Where do you want more inspired action right now? Write down any place in your life you want more inspired action. James, I'm sorry, but you're not allowed to have any inspired action. You just got to chill out and take more naps, buddy. More relaxing. Deanna wanted more property by the ocean, and the answer was so simple. Well, why don't you just go hang out at the ocean, Deanna, in all the places that you want to have property? And it turns out if you go hang out by the ocean and you just get into your flow state, then things start to happen. I don't know how many properties you have now, like 7 or something by the ocean, Deanna? Yeah, she's shaking her head. Yes, 7 by the ocean. Craig wanted to be investing more and having his money make more money. and like he overthinks and overanalyzes. And really what there was to do is just to actually be curious and ask more questions and open up and just put yourself out there. You don't get too caught up in the how-to. And then you open yourself up and you just let that how-to come. Step 4 is about watering your garden. And it's really just the people in your life. Like your net worth is a function of your network. How people know you, how people relate to you tells you the kinds of opportunities that you're going to get. So the more people you talk to, the more people you tell what you're committed to, the faster your manifestations come. So let me just have you write down anybody that you haven't told yet about what you're manifesting. Just write it down. You don't have to do anything. Just write their name down. Anyone you haven't told yet about what you're manifesting. Now, if it was me, I probably haven't told them because there's something going on inside of me. Like I'm jammed up about something. I don't know what it is, right? I'm like resisting something. And so if it's me, what I do is I just put it into my gems. And one, I probably find things that I'm grateful for about the person. 2, I'll talk about what do I want to experience with that person. It might be like safety or acceptance or appreciation or acknowledgement. Usually I'm not telling them what I'm manifesting because I'm afraid they're not going to appreciate or acknowledge me. And then 3, I will just intend that some magical, amazing circumstance occurs. And next thing you know, I get to tell them what it is. And I like to play those games. I like to just go like, I know that I can be a forceful guy and just like go out and I'm going to tell you the thing that I want to manifest. Right? I could do that, but I just find it's weird. It doesn't work. If there's like a hesitation or something that's stopping me, I just chill out a little bit. I go back into my gems. I go back into my like, how can I get into a good spot about this? And then step 5, it's about being curious and it's about being kind. Connect deeply with people. Step over no one. You never know who the one is going to be. I swear to God, it's always the weirdos and the freaks and the ones you never expect. It's like I was talking to that person and like I was telling them what I'm manifesting, and next thing you know, they're like blah, 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 they're giving me this. Oh, they boom. Here's my how-to. Here's my next step. Here's the next person. Here's the thing that I need. Here's some resource that I need. But you got to slow down. You got to slow down and connect because the people in your life are where it's at. The people are the source of your manifestations. So just write down anyone that you've been stepping over lately. Just write down any name of a person that you've just been like, nah, I'm too busy. It's not them. What are they going to do? They don't even understand, right? You have some weird story about it. Like, who's that person? So let's open up for questions, concerns, comments, thoughts, hallucinations, excitement, emotional overload, anything at all about the first 5 steps. And then we're going to jump right into step number 6. For some reason, I had to say that with a Southern accent, and I'm not sure why. It had to be an exaggerated one, too. Anyone? Bueller? Okay. We're going to move on to step number 6. Are you ready? Buckle up. Step 6 is one of my favorite. Write down for me, please. Play the perfect game. Play the perfect game. There are 3 steps to the perfect game. Write down step number 1 for me, please. Whatever's offered, take it. Step number 2, whatever is suggested, do it. Whatever is offered, take it. Whatever is suggested, do it. And then finally, step number 3, whatever happens, declare it perfect. Now, the thing to remember is the perfect game is really about trusting It's about being in a flow, being open, saying yes, because the perfect person, the perfect advice, the perfect thing, the perfect, like what you need is going to come through the people that you're talking to, that you're connecting with, you're sharing with, you're intentionally slowing down, you're stopping, you're like being in their world. You're curious, you want to know. Your next thing is going to come from that. And they're going to be like, hey, you know what you should do? And you need to be ready to go like, all right, I'll do it. Even though in your head, it's like, don't do that. That sounds crazy. Well, yeah, of course it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy because you're not ready yet. The perfect game is about trusting, being in the flow, being open, and saying yes. The perfect game is about being the person that you want to be in advance. The person who's abundant says yes. The person who is blessed says yes. The person who feels safe says yes. If you want to like have the stuff, then you be the person who has the stuff in advance. And when you are that person, then you're comfortable and you're confident in these new situations that arise. When you practice the feeling state of success in advance, you enter into what feels like a mystical realm, because everything that you want starts to happen naturally and without effort because you don't need anything. It's a state of detachment. You don't need it, so it starts to come. Now, I like to practice it personally by setting my intentions on a regular basis. I like to do my GEMS, and that's gratitude, experience, and manifestation. And if we're being honest, those are just intentions. I'm just setting my intentions over and over and over. I'm writing them down, thinking about them. I'm being them. Exactly. So the process is about you being the person that you want to be and being it as if already the manifestations are here. So when you're being the person that you want to be, feeling like it already is here, feeling like you already have it, you enter into a state of trust and surrender. And then you just kind of kick back and you enjoy the ride. And that's when the perfect game rocks. When you do this, everything accelerates. You know, your doubt, your fear, your concerns, those things stop the flow, but your happiness, your appreciation, your joy, your peace, your flow, that increases the flow. Things happen so much more rapidly and with so much more precision and perfection when you let go and you surrender and you just go with the flow of life. So here's the question. Who are you being? Who are you being that is influencing the results that you're getting right now? Think about some of the results that aren't necessarily what you want. Who are you being? Put those in the chat for me. I just want to hear some of the things that if you think about, I'm not really getting the results that I want. Who are you being? I'm going to go over here and look in the chat real fast. Are you being skeptical? Are you being doubtful, fearful, a survivor, Ali put in there? Are you being agitated, annoyed? Are you being busy? A person who allows, curious, and patient, good, cynical, John put in, but yeah, all of the above, James put in. Yeah, it happens. Being fearful, doubtful, and comparing. These ways of operating close off the manifestation flow, because the manifestation flow is going to come from the people in your world. You want to open that funnel up. And the way you open that funnel up is by being more joyous and peaceful and fun and curious and open, right? Survivor, Leanne put in, unsure and cynical at times, fearful, being too realistic, Jean put in there. Yeah, and realistic just means that based on my extremely limited perspective and unwillingness to take risks, I declare that this is what's realistic. That's what realistic means, right? Not believing, Ken put in. These things impede the flow. What we want to do is increase the flow. When you feel good, you're strong. Who you're being in the moment, how you feel about yourself, life, your future, your past, your present, it'll massively influence your results because it'll influence who you're being and what you're capable of. When you're strong, you're confident, you're capable, you're curious, you're open, you're willing because you're not protecting yourself. When you're weak, you're protecting yourself. So you're more resistant and doubtful and pessimistic and problem focused and closed off. We're leading to this idea of being a person who says yes. When you are closed off and you're problem focused, you're blocking your desires from coming to you because the people around you are like, right? It's like you're not pulling them in, you're pushing them away. If your car is making a weird noise, you know something is wrong. If you're feeling uncomfortable or annoyed or unfocused or bad or whatever, then your body's essentially making a weird noise. And what there is to do is to get back to giving the gift, being open, connecting deeply with people, and watch the miracles happen when you do this. So let's write this idea down. We just write down this week, be a yes. This week, be a yes. Just practice saying yes. You're always, everybody write this down. I'm always in the right place at the right time. I'm always in the right place at the right time. And then I want you to write down one more for me, and that is, it's always going my way, even when it's not. And I know that that's really hard to hold as a context, but it is a strengthening idea. Meaning if we put your arm out and you say something like, it's not going my way, we will see that no matter how strong you are, your arm fails, meaning your body, your physiology is going weak. And if we have you say, it's always going my way, even when it's not, your arm stays solid as a rock, no matter how hard we push on it. In other words, it strengthens, it fortifies your body to operate from that perspective. Here's a fun story to kind of illustrate this idea. Will you just write this little idea down, please? Just write down, God is on my side. God is on my side, whatever God means to you, right? I'm not a God guy, but it communicates. God is on my side. So there's a man, he lives next to a river. And, the rain has been crazy lately. And the river runs over the banks and starts to flood. And he's a devoted religious man. And that gives him a lot of confidence that he's going to be okay. And so when the water starts to come up to his house, his neighbors come over and they're like, yo, we got to go. Let's pack it up and get out of here. And he literally says to them, if God wants me out of this house, then he'll send me a sign and I'm staying until then. And they're like, oh, all right, cool. So they go. Well, a few hours later, the water is filling up the entire first floor. The furniture is floating, but he's patiently waiting on the second floor. When a Red Cross helicopter comes, and he's like, not going, right? They're shouting, let's go, buddy, get in the boat, let's go. And he's like, I'm not going until God gives me a sign. I'm not leaving this house. I'm staying. Sends him away. Well, a couple hours later, he's on the roof and here comes the Red Cross boat coming in to hey man, we got to get you. You have to go now. And he's like, hell no. If God wants me to leave this house, he will send me a sign. Until then, I'm staying. The man drowned that day. And he finds himself in heaven, sitting in front of God. And he's completely shocked. He looks at God and goes, I trusted you. I had total faith. I knew you would send me a sign and you didn't. What's up with that? And God lovingly looks at the man and just says, I sent the neighbor. I sent a helicopter. I sent a boat. How much more of a sign do you need? I propose that this is you with the things that aren't manifesting as fast as you want. That you're so stuck on the how-to, like how it's supposed to work, what the procedure is, what I'm supposed to do. You're like, no, this is the way it's going to happen. You're so stuck in that third step of how-to that you forget the ancient Vietnamese proverb. Everybody say these letters out loud with me right now. P-H-U-K-H-A-U. Fuck how. You don't know how. This man wasn't following step 3. Forget about the how-to. He had an opinion about how God was supposed to show up and give him a sign. But my friends, God, universe, source, whatever, creation, whatever you want to call that thing, whatever that thing is for you, it's extremely efficient and practical. It's always going to come in the most efficient fashion, which is usually the opposite of what you think, because you're trained to think that everything is fucking hard. And it's not. It's not hard. Ease, flow, joy, peace, like rolling with it doesn't mean you aren't in action. It doesn't mean you aren't doing stuff. You are, but you're doing it in a non-resistant way. Sometimes the answers are right there in front of you. They're right there in front of your face. But your opinion and your arrogance and your stubbornness and your absolute vehement stand that it has to be hard blocks you. It blocks you from getting the answers that you need. Write down the 3 things that you're manifesting during our time together right now, please. Write them down. What are those 3 things? Yes, James, in a van down by the river. I am the motivational speaker. Write down the 3 things that you said you wanted to manifest during this time. I wonder how many signs you have been missing because you've been so committed to your way or the way it's supposed to be. Write down 3 words that I want you to focus on this week. Different, interesting, and unusual. Different, interesting, and unusual. We all get caught up in the have to, need to, must, and should of life. And the perfect game is the exact opposite of that. There's no have to, need to, must, or should in the perfect game. In the perfect game, you never miss a sign because when things are offered, you take them. When things are suggested, you do them. And when things happen, you declare them perfect, which means that whatever they might be setting up next is able to come. You don't like do it as like, I did it, I took that thing, and then I didn't get what I want. This is bullshit. Right? Like if you go into that state, you close everything off again. You go weak. You're not creative. You're not resourceful. You're not uplifting. You're not empowering. You're not curious. You're not attractive. None of all of that gets shut down because you're operating from a weak state again. The perfect game allows you to go into a state of synchronicity and harmony. Every one of us, and I mean every single one of us, can manifest your wildest dreams, the crazy ones. But here's the sad part. Hardly any of us are willing to let those dreams in because we're too busy with our habits. We're too busy saying no. We're too busy stepping over people. We're too narrow-minded. People are giving us ideas all the time. We're like, no, I don't have time. I got shit to do. I got all this stuff. So like, we're just like a no machine. We're just deleting and pushing everything away. almost no one has the personal power to withstand new, different, interesting, weird, strange. Why? Because our new dreams, they live in this domain of weird and different and outside of the box. And I will tell you that the drunk monk in your head, it does not like that stuff. The drunk monk in your head, it's saying like, nah, that's not it. The drunk monkey thinks it's psychic. I can predict the future. If you take those actions, you're not going to get what you want. But the drunk monkey has no idea. It's in this perpetual state of assuming and pretending and generalizing. The drunk monkey in your head is saying things like, you know, I don't have time and I don't like that. It's weird. That's new. That's different. The drunk monkey doesn't like things that are new and different and unusual and weird. It's like, I'm outside of my comfort zone. You know, for example, you set an intention for $1 million. You want to have $1 million, but you've never made more than 100,000. So you got a problem. Because $1 million is outside of your box. It's going to take new thinking, different actions. There's going to be unfamiliar and unusual situations and people and tasks and initiatives. And you're going to have to practice allowing those things to happen. What it takes to have $100,000 come in is very different than what it takes to have $1 million to come in. The thing is that it's not 10 times more work. It's actually 10 times smarter, 10 times more leveraged, 10 times more effortless or more flowing, because you can't do 10 times more work. So it's different, it's new, it's interesting, it's outside of your box, it's stuff you don't know about. The $1 million, we could just say it like this. It's not you. It's not your way of being. Having $1 million is in a perspective that you've practiced. And that's where the perfect game just comes in amazingly. Because when you tell people like what you're committed to, they're like, well, you should try this. I remember we were telling one of our incredible friends and clients, Cuthberto, about our intentions for investing and creating passive income. And he's like, well, you need to go to my teacher. And we were like, oh, okay, we'll go. And we just did. We just like figured it out. And it wasn't comfortable and it wasn't easy and it wasn't what we liked and it wasn't what we were used to. And the way that the guy operated wasn't the way that we would operate. And we had all these, criticisms and all this stuff, but we were like, get out of here. Just pay attention. Like there's something here. And it fundamentally changed our life. It wasn't instant. It took 3, 4, 5 years of like really addressing what this guy was teaching, but it changed our life. We said yes. And Kristen can attest to, we couldn't afford it at the time. Like we couldn't afford to go to the class. We couldn't afford to do any investing, but we did it. We made it happen anyways, and it paid off. So new, different, interesting. It's not enough to just connect with people. Those people are going to give you the keys to your manifestation. They're going to make suggestions. They're going to give you directives. They're going to say, like, you need to do this. They're going to show you the way. And then you have to practice saying yes. And the problem is that those directives are never going to fit your fantasy of how it's supposed to happen. So often you reject them. You poo-poo what they're saying. Because the how-to of your dreams doesn't fit with your fantasies because you're not there yet, right? It's like, yeah, you can make up stories in your head about how it's all supposed to happen, but you don't know. I remember my goal to manifest being a rock star and being in the music business. And it turned out like I have spent my life performing in front of thousands and thousands of people. And it turns out that I make music and I sell it on a regular basis, but it doesn't look anything like what I thought it was going to be, like 0%. it looks completely different. But if I didn't follow the 8 steps and I wasn't a yes, then I probably would still be living in the, someday I'm going to finally get there. So it's a critical step. You got to follow step 3, right? Don't get hung up on the how to. And then you got to follow step 6. And that is when people make suggestions, you got to do it. When they say, you should do this, bam, you just do it. When they offer you stuff, you take it. Like you don't even know why you're taking it. Like, what is this? Follow the 8 steps and it will lead you to the right person, the right action, the right situations all the time. You just have to learn to roll with it. And the way you roll with it, you play the perfect game. So let's just say it out loud. Ready? I want you to just say, whatever's offered, I'm committed to taking it. Whatever's suggested, I'm committed to doing it. And whatever happens, I will declare it perfect. You never know where the information is going to come from. You never know who the one is going to be. 90% of your manifestation is essentially just setting the intention, like being willing to write it down. Then the other 10% is about allowing it, receiving it, accepting it, being open to it, then taking action on it. Being experimental. We'll get to some more things. So here's how this game applies to manifesting. You ask, the creative force starts to flow through and optimize. You say yes, things happen. That's one way. Here's the more likely way. You ask, the universe, God, source, this creative force delivers. You say no. Your life gets all messed up, by the way, like you go into breakdown when that happens. You go into breakdown and things start falling apart. And then the universe has to regroup. It's like, okay, how am I going to get this message through to my creative being in a different way? Because remember, you are the manifestation manifesting. You are it. It is you. So it's just going to keep coming through in all these different ways until you finally say yes. And I propose it's very likely that you have been saying no to a lot of things that would lead you naturally to the results that you want in your lifestyle, your goals, your objectives, like all the things that you have been desiring in your life. It's very likely that you have an opinion that stops you. Remember that opinions are the source of your suffering, and opinions stop you dead in your tracks. Here's how life works. You set an intention, you keep doing what you're doing, and you give the gift. Then you step over no one, and you just start connecting deeply with people. And because you're giving the gift, people want to contribute to you. Not everybody. It's so important to know. Not everybody's going to want to contribute to you, but maybe 1 in 4, 1 in 5, 1 in 10 will like turn around. Even more is that you're planting these seeds, right? So you're just talking about it. It's just like in your language. And next thing you know, you start to become known for it. Now you got to be ready, because when people do want to know what you're up to, you got to be able to say, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm doing. Here's where I'm going. You got to be ready to be clear about it. Because they want to contribute back, right? So you now need to be ready to tell them how they can contribute to you. Then you play the perfect game. Whatever's offered, you say, yeah, I'll take that. Whatever's suggested, okay, I'll do it. And whatever happens, you declare it perfect. And it's important, though, in this process that you use discernment, because I'm not saying that you're going to say yes to everything. That's dumb. You're saying yes because you're clear about what you want. You're out there connecting deeply with people. You're telling people what you're committed to. People are excited about who you're being and the contribution that you are in their life. They're wanting to contribute back to you. Now you're telling them. Now they're giving you suggestions. Now you say yes. The perfect game is not about saying yes to the door-to-door salesman just because they asked. It's not about saying yes to your friend who's selling some nutritional product just because they asked. That's not what we're talking about here. When you're following the 8 steps, the right people, the right information, the right resources just start showing up in droves to you, and you have to learn to say yes. You have to learn to say yes, but you also have to learn how to slow down and make room for their suggestions and their gifts. If you're in a go, 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 go all the time, I can tell you with certainty, as someone who has been in a intense go, go, go state my whole life until I met Kristen, who was like, we're never going to live the dreams that you want to live and the dreams that I want to live if we're working this much, Matthew. So if you're in a go, 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 you actually don't have room for the suggestions. The perfect game is designed to help you to become more of an allowing person by allowing the opportunities to come into your life. But then you also have to be someone who practices taking action and actually doing it, which means you got to have a little more space. Your new goals are going to take new actions, new commitments, new habits, new. The universe is delivering everything that you want, but it comes in packages that you can't tell. You don't know, like, why am I here? Right? Like, you definitely want to find yourself in those places on a regular basis. Like, you just go like, I have no idea why I said yes to this. Like, if you say that, you're fucking onto something. Like, you're definitely in the right place. There is something good happening. When Kristen and I say that, when we're like, what are we doing here? It always leads to some crazy cool thing. And it's usually because somebody gave us a suggestion and we just said yes, but we had no idea where it was leading, but we knew what our intentions were. The perfect game will help you to allow those opportunities to come in your life. So you stop resisting and you start going with the flow. See, why do you typically not take people's advice? Well, because you think you already know. And the truth is, look at your 3 intentions again. Those things are not in your life yet because you think you know how they're supposed to happen, and you don't. Why do you typically not take people's advice? You're too busy. You're too frenetic. You've got yourself in survival mode. You're spending too much and you're making too little. So you're freaking out because now you need to fill in that gap. Make it easier on yourself. Reduce the burn, reduce the commitments, reduce the things that you're on the hook for so you can take more time for you. Why do you typically not do what other people tell you to do? Well, it's scary. And quite frankly, we're arrogant. Like, we think we know. And, let's be honest, you're in this training with me because you're already a smart cookie. But going back to that beginner mind is really, really going to help. So I want to open up to any questions, concerns, comments, thoughts, hallucinations. Let me put my suggested homework for the week into the chat here. So this is what I think would make for an exceptional week. Put it in the chat there for you. So just to run it down, rather than trying to attract results, why don't you try attracting the people that you need to get the results? Or attract just the next thing in the process. Quit trying to go for the whole enchilada. Let's go one bite at a time. Work with your buddy. If you haven't got a buddy, then reach out to people in GroupMe and practice telling people what you're committed to. If it was me, I would give the gift to 10 people this week. If it was me, I would start to get a little bold. I would start to tell total strangers that I'm in conversation with what I'm committed to. Don't hold back. Plus, I'm just playing the perfect game all the time. So play the perfect game. Say yes to invitations. Say yes to all the things you've been saying no to. Look for the signs. If it's weird, if it's different, if it's unusual, if you're saying to yourself, like, what are we doing here? Like, that's a really good sign. Like, that really means something's happening. Weird, different, strange, unusual. That's a sign. Do what is suggested. Take what is offered. Declare everything that you're experiencing perfect and enjoy the ride. And then last, just stay focused. Do your gems. What are you grateful for? What do you want to experience? What are you manifesting? So with that, I want to open up to any questions, concerns, help, support, anything at all. Let me be here for you to help you to increase your manifesting power. Of course, that's funny to even say that, Franco, because you don't have manifesting power. You are just what is manifesting. Go.
Hey, what's up, Matthew?
What's up?
Going back to the original, our 3 things we're manifesting. What were the guidelines for that? I know it's a level.
Good. Yeah. Good idea. What are the guidelines for the 3 things that we're manifesting? If it was me, I would want to do one thing that's a real zinger. I would do another thing that is almost like a layup. It would just be like so easy and fun. And then I would probably try to do something that's like, like, God, I've been thinking about this for such a long time. I'm just going to put it on my list. I put TV show back on my list again recently. Well, when we started this class, I just put it back on my list. I was just like, you know what? I've been wanting to do a TV show for a long time. I'm putting it back on my list. I'm not attached to it. I don't need to do it, but I just like, it's always there in the background. So it's like, fuck it. I'm putting it on the list. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
I remember you saying, because we're all in real estate, they're like, don't put your deals or something like that. Like, don't put your deals. Like, of course, we all want to manifest deals.
Yeah, I would say, your deals goal is probably just something that is more of a calculating, right? It's a metric that's a function of the activities that you do in your business. If it was me, what I would do is I would say, okay, what do I think my deals are going to get me? Like if I was achieving those goals, what does that do? And then I would go for that. So John and I were talking about that at the very beginning. It's like, okay, yeah, of course I want to do more deals, right? It's like, do I want to sell more people into my peace, purpose, and prosperity retreat? Yes, I do. And we have a system in place and we're following the system and we're doing the activities on a regular basis. But like, what do I think that that's going to get me? That is the thing to go for. What do I think it's going to, like, when we sell that retreat out and we are doing the retreat and we're in the process, what do I think that's going to get me? That's what I'm going for.
Awesome.
Yeah, baby. Super good. Help, support, questions, anything. There is absolutely nothing that is off the table. I be here for you.
All right, I've got one very similar to, I think it was James that asked when he feels unmotivated. I've wound up in a spot where I've almost completely fallen off the wagon with this, where I've gone into a spot and just gotten frustrated and say, how do you play the perfect game when everything has just gone to crap? Am I saying, okay, well,
yeah, all right, good. I love this.
It took me like a day or two, and it just like, okay, Drew, just call it a day, and I'll go home, play with the kids, and I'll deal with it tomorrow. Tomorrow
That's
will be
good.
perfect, or what?
Yes, call it a day. Go home, play with the kids. Go walks. Go on walks. Go do some breathing, some meditating, like something that it just completely takes. Go for a run. Do something that just completely takes you out of the energy again, and then just come back the next day and see where you're at. But I would say first I'd want to understand, like, what is the going to shit for you? Like, what does that mean so that I understand, what we're talking about?
Well, some of it is just a combination of silly errors. And I mean, I'll tell you a specific thing, and I don't know there's a solution. I have a shared office. My office mate plays Call of Duty loudly. I find it not very helpful for, say, the atmosphere in a professional environment to hear Call of Duty.
Totally agree. Okay, great. And have you had that conversation?
I have. I feel it's ridiculous to have the conversation more than once in a day.
Yeah, but more than once in a day is fine. Instead of, James says play with him. Yeah, I think I think one, James has got a really good point. I don't know if it's play with him, but it is definitely build rapport.
Mhm.
So it's build rapport. So rather than being in resentment and in resistance, like, tell me about this game. Like, what's so important about it? What do you like about it? Why, it seems like it's totally engrossing you. Tell me, like, what is your deal with this? Start to get seek to understand him. And then I think you can make a request, and you can just say, like, all those things sound really awesome. And I really, really want you to, like, live the life that you want. And I'm trying to figure out how I can coexist with you, because I'm finding it to be distracting. And you're my office mate, and you have a right to do whatever it is that you're doing. I don't want to dominate you. Can we come up with a solution that we're both happy about, that we're both stoked about? But first, really seek to understand, like, what is so compelling about
Well,
this?
I think you might have something there, because it's, I mean, obviously the issue here is because I see the office as the work spot, and he sees it as the not work spot, the I'm not at home spot. So that your questions, I think, may work for everybody in the chat who is saying headphones. There are headphones, but they put the noise to the outside as well, so you could hear nuances such as
Right.
somebody walking up behind you. Apparently, like it's rather it's
Don't
I'm
resist. Release your
I'm
resistance.
blown away by it. I'm
Release your
blown away by it.
resistance.
And
You're
that
holding-
just throws into the whole, like,
John, you're
that
holding
didn't
him
work.
accountable.
Yeah.
You're holding him accountable to agreements that he didn't make.
Kristen, I like your idea. You know what? You're right.
Gaffers
You're right.
tape on the outside. John, you're holding him accountable to agreements that he didn't make. And this is very normal. So in his mind, coming to the office is a place to escape. Right? We're just making that up. We assume.
Mhm.
In your mind, coming to the office is a place to do work. And it's okay it's okay to switch office mates. It's totally fine. But I think that you will find that the solution is much more cohesive if you practice total and complete acceptance of his point of view and his perspective, and you seek to understand, like, what is the, like, I come here to work and like, that's my thing, but it seems like you come here to play the game. Like, what's up, what's up with that? Is this where you escape? And what is it about the game? And do you work somewhere else? Or, like, how do you get business? Do you get, like, is there business coming to you through the gaming community? Right? You just, like, get curious about it. Don't resist him, and then seek a solution between the two of you. Go back into my book, Creating Sales Velocity, and I think it is chapter 6. In chapter 6, I talk about getting into a state of harmony with people, and see what
Okay.
that does. I think that you'll be able to create a solution, and then you should just write it down in your gems. My office mate magically stops playing, right? And then adds or something better. I always like to add or something better, because I just never know. It always turns out better than I could imagined, and it's never usually what I think. If you resist it,
All
it'll
right.
persist. What you resist will persist. What you accept will transform.
All
Good.
right.
Keep
I've
us in
never
the
thought
loop.
of it that way.
We're all personally manifesting that this is resolved by next week. Can we all just, like, everybody give me a high five on that one, please? We're all manifesting. Boom. This is done by next week.
Thank you.
You have the whole group all pulling for you together. Please get into group me and tell us when it's resolved because we want to hear about it. Okay.
I shall. Thank you.
Woohoo. All right. I think James raised his hand, or maybe it was raised and then it wasn't, but I'm open. Anybody? James.
Yeah, we were just short on time. So, just really quick, for those of us that bristle at the word slow down, if you could pick one thing to focus on, we'll just keep that simple. So one thing to focus on to help me slow down.
Here it is. Ready? This should be the mantra for the next week for you. Work expands to fit the time allotted. So, for example, if I was coaching you from a productivity standpoint, I would ask you to reduce the amount of time that you're working and to fill it with something else. I have a guy on Wall Street that I'm working with, and I've been asking him for months and months to do it. He finally did. He put more exercise and more meditation, like as a structured thing, into his life. And he reduced his workday from about 13 hours a day, which was killing him, down to about 8 hours a day. And when I spoke to him today, his productivity was through the roof. His happiness was off the charts, and everything was moving again. Because in the end, it comes down to you. If you don't take care of you, you're the product. You're the like, without you, nothing's happening. So if you don't take care of you, you got to take care of you first. The way that I say it is, I put my own needs first and foremost. And from that fortified state, I am of service to those who are additive to my life. And I'm really deliberate. Like, if you're not additive to my life, you're out. And you may not be out immediately, right? There may be a lot of ties to you because of family or whatever, but it has really changed my life. And I credit my wife for it. She really just looked at me and said, how are we going to get what we want if you are putting up with making sure everybody else is getting what they want? It's not going to work, Matthew. Kristen, you want to say something?
Well, first of all, thanks for the acknowledgement. What I was going to say is, James, he makes it sound so damn easy, but I'm telling you, it took years.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to
10 years.
convince him, you're the provider. You're the guy. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not either, that I'm not the provider too, but there is a hierarchy and there is a structure in our lives where there's just, quite frankly, a lot of people that rely on us. And I just got in his face about it. It was so practical. It's like, if you're not doing well, the rest of the people that you care about aren't doing well. So like, you prioritizing your own well-being really has to be job one. And James, I hear you. Like, I am a driver, go for it, busy. I worked so hard. I made myself sick in my 30s, like not a little bit sick, but like diagnosed with a legitimate disease at the age of 32. So I have tremendous empathy for the go, 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 go. And I will tell you, fast forward 20 years now, that partnering with someone who I had to convince to kind of come over to my side of the equation, it took some work, but it's been so worth it. And it starts with each of us really taking a stand for ourselves. And that when we do well, everybody else around us does well too. So I'll just leave you with that.
Work expands to fit the time allotted. So if you compress it, you'll just be more productive. If you expand it and give yourself all damn day to do it, you'll just be sucky at it and it'll take all day. If you have to get it done in an hour because you're leaving to the airport, you do that. There's no choice. But we give ourselves so much wiggle room without the compression that we're really, really sloppy and we're really inefficient. So if you want to get out of the go, 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 just put things that are self-care and self-love into your schedule, And what I would do is I would schedule it with other people. Me personally, I cannot rely on myself to love on myself and take care of myself. I have to actually schedule it with other people and do stuff with other people. Otherwise, my natural tendency is to just like work myself to the bone to make sure everybody else is okay.
Let me share a really crazy idea that I was on the phone with one of our clients and one of my dear friends last night, 24 hours ago. And she's facing this right now in her own life. And I said, what about this? What if you took whatever amount of money feels right, $500, $250, $5,000, I don't care what the number is. Open up a checking account and get yourself a debit card. And that is the self-care and well-being account. And your job is every single month to figure out how you're going to spend $250, $500, $5,000 on yourself. And I say this because I fall into this trap. I don't get massages. I stop getting my pedicures. I don't get my hair cut as much as I should. Like when I get busy, the self-care just flies right out the window. And so I thought it was really intriguing. In fact, I might even take my own coaching, that it's having like this separate piggy bank with its own debit card and like get into the play and the joy of figuring out, how am I going to pamper myself this week? Or this month. So I'm in an optimal state and I can kick some ass and be there for the people that rely on me. So I'm just sharing that with the group. It was something that came out of literally this exact same conversation from yesterday. And it might be an idea worth taking for a test drive.
And you can count on me to put it into place.
I know, right? You should do it.
We're gonna add it. We're gonna add it to our new keto tracking sheet that we just created. Me and Kristen and CG are in a keto contest between now and the PPP retreat, Peace, Purpose, and Prosperity retreat. So I just want to acknowledge we're over at 6:06, and I want you to know that I'm willing to stay and hang out and chat and rap and coach and support anybody who wants to do that. If you are complete, the suggested homework is in the chat there. Take it on. If you'd like to stay on, I'm happy to stay on for another 10 or 15 minutes and just make sure that you feel supported in this process of manifesting in a completely and totally new way that is not about pushing and forcing and driving and killing it, but is instead about being in a flow state such that what you want starts to come to you. Help, support, questions, concerns, anything at all. I'm here.
Hey, Matthew, it's Ken.
Ken, go for it, buddy.
You know what's been helping me a lot is thinking about the soil, the conditions. That something, I forget what it was yesterday, but usually I would concentrate on the problem. But instead I said, okay, think about the soil, think about the conditions. What do you have to do to get yourself ready to go? And that was much easier to think about. And then much easier
can you get out of the metaphor a little bit and get specific for us so that we understand when you're talking about the soil and the conditions, like what did that mean to you prior to that? What did that mean to you when you did it?
Well, it had to do with prospecting, it had to do with making phone calls. And basically it came to, you don't get off your ass and make out the number, you're not going to get what you want. But I always would think trying to get what I wanted instead of thinking about, okay, get up, walk over to your computer, relax, just dial the number, doesn't matter who answers, and then you get into the flow and you forget. And that worked.
When do you plan on moving?
Freezing.
How long have you lived at this address? Where did you move from?
How is important to you? What will you do for you? So ultimately, what will all this do for you? Isn't that a great feeling?
Yes, sir. I am very familiar with these scripts.
Figured you wrote them.
Very good, Ken. Thank you for that share. That's super awesome. Good. Anybody else? I think, Kara, you've raised your hand. Why don't you just jump in?
Okay, this is just a little going back to more of the elementary, but Olaf and I realized last week, we said, oh my gosh, Matthew forgot to give us a little assignment of what to focus on to manifest. So we made up our own, but I'd like you to do that because it's a fun little game for us to, those little things that you give us to do.
I know, I love them. Yes.
Well, and plus they help us feel like to remember, I think it was Abraham Hicks that said, if you can create a button, you can create a castle. And so this practice of creating these little buttons that you give us was really helpful. And plus it's fun.
I like it too. It's super fun. Can we do, what did we do last time?
We did like
Right.
purple, a purple.
You did a blue
or rain-
butterfly and I
Well,
didn't find it.
We
no,
did a blue
rainbow-
we did a blue butterfly, and then we did something else, and then we did something else. I can't remember, a unicorn.
Rainbow unicorn, a rainbow.
Ah, rainbow unicorn.
The
I
yellow
see.
Flower.
Why don't we do a blue pig?
Okay.
I am manifesting a blue pig, ladies and gentlemen. I can see one in my mind. And let's see what happens. Again, we're just activating the reticular activating system. That's it. We're just opening ourselves up. We're just slowing down. We're just realizing, oh, if I tune in on things, then it's likely that it will appear in my world. Woohoo. Okay, good. Anybody else help, support, coaching, thoughts, reporting? I'm open. I'd be here for you. Well, I want to leave you with something that changed my life, and it was, it's from Dr. Hawkins, and it's what John was helping me to remember, and James actually, and that is, he said, you know, for significant spiritual growth, only one simple tool is required, and it is merely to select a simple spiritual principle that's appealing and proceed with this application without exception to every area of your life, within and without. And so for me, what I latched on to was practicing total and complete acceptance of all people, all situations, including myself. And what I found was that my resistance was connected to my suffering. And that if I would instead practice acceptance, my suffering would go away, my creativity would return, and suddenly the things that I wanted to have happen were more likely to happen. But it is a tall order to practice total and complete acceptance, but it's one that I highly, highly recommend. And you can see that almost everything that we're doing in the 8 steps is really related in some way to practicing total and complete acceptance. We got 2 more weeks left, step 7 and step 8. I'm super excited to share those with you. If you haven't decided to join us for the Peace, Purpose, and Prosperity Retreat, I highly recommend it. It is going to be absolutely epic. What we've got planned is going to be amazing and extraordinary. Get yourself signed up sooner versus later. We're about to go live with the promotion with Jamil, and Jamil's got a very big following. And so we're thinking that, you know, if I don't know, you know, he's a real estate guy, so we'll see how much it translates to mindset and spirituality. But I think it's going to be a lot. So if you're committed to coming, please get yourself a room and get yourself signed up with us so that we can all be there together. I want as many of the Matthew Ferry tribe members to be there as possible so we can balance out some of the Jamil tribe members. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have an awesome week. Talk to you all soon. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.